everybody should have a marker. All right. When I reviewed the elements of art, we talked about, I showed you guys that our most basic element of art is line. Line shows up in everything. And so what we're going to start with is we're going to experiment with some different types of lines. So you should have your marker. You should not be using a pencil. All right. That way we don't have to worry, like, it's not a big deal. We don't have to do any erasing. All right, so we're going to do some lines. Let's see here. Did that show up there? Yes, it did. Awesome. Yes, lines. And we're going to create a little collection of lines. That's what's going to happen on our page. And the reason why I gave you guys a marker is that it has a point, but it also has a kind of a nice side to it. And we can actually make lines using different types of things. So first of all, most of the time when we think about lines, we think about math lines. So math lines are usually nice and straight, and they're drawn with a ruler. And sometimes they have little dots on them like that, right? And sometimes they have little arrows on them like that, right? But they're really like super serious. All right, so make yourself a super serious math line. Now, usually in math, what do we do when we draw lines that are super serious? What do we use? A ruler, right? That's our tool to help us draw super serious lines. Now, we don't have to worry about that today because today we're going to draw some lines that are not so serious. All right, so we've got nice straight lines. Now, the thing to know about a line is that if you take your finger, you can start at a point and you can follow the line. It makes what's called a path, okay? So sometimes we have a line that's super serious and straight. Sometimes, though, when we draw lines, like we have lines that are like kind of straight but not really, right? That's what happens when we try to draw lines without a ruler. Sometimes we have lines that like to wave. Sometimes our waves are small and sometimes our waves are big. Sometimes you see lines like that in science, right, when we're talking about sound waves. Sometimes we have lines that they have peaks and angles. We like to call these zigzag lines. Sometimes our zigzags do different things. And then they have another fancy word that we like to call castellations. That's probably not a word you'll usually hear. That's the parts on a castle, right? Those kinds of lines. So we have zigzag lines. All right. Sometimes our lines make little loop-de-loops. All right. Sometimes they're big loop-de-loops. Sometimes they're little loop-de-loops or curls. All right. But we know it's a line because our finger can follow along and trace that all the way around. All right. Sometimes we have lines that wiggle and squiggle, and they're kind of hard to tell that they're lines, and they loop around. But if you use your finger, you could still follow that path, even if they get wiggly and squiggly. How you guys doing so far? Yeah? Look around, make sure everybody's caught up. All right. Now, here's where it gets fun. So see how my marker has a point to it and has a side to it? If you take your marker and we start just barely holding the point, just barely, we can make a super light line. And then we can tip our marker to the side and make a super fat line, and we can create what's called a varied line. That means it's got things that are skinny and things that are fat. Can you like wiggle your marker back and forth? See if you can get a varied line. See, what's cool about this is if this was a mountain, this almost looks like a shadow, right? Ah, look at that. Just with a line, we can make pictures of other things. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to move that up. All right, so lines can be a line even when it's not connected. All right, do you guys know what this kind of line is called?
Straight. Dot to dot.
Dot to dot, or has anybody heard of a dashed line?
Oh, yeah.
A dashed line, right? Even though there's gaps, you know that it's still a line. Usually there's this little picture that accompanies it. There you go, the scissor symbol that says cut this line. All right. So sometimes, I'm going to try one of those varied lines again. Sometimes our lines can disappear and then come back. Like that. Right? Even when we're following that line and the line ends, what do?
Keep going.
We keep going, right? Our eyes are like, ooh, there's another line. I see it. All right, and I'm going to show you the coolest line ever. It's like a magical line. You guys ready for this? All right, I'm going to draw, what's that? An arrow. And then over here, what's that?
Target.
A target. All right, if my eye starts here, where does it go?
To the target.
It goes ding, 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 ding. Is there a line there? Huh? If I look here, where does your eye go? To the target. It's a magical line that doesn't even exist. There's a fancy word for this. It's called an implied line. Implied means it's there, but it's not there. Your brain finishes the picture for you. Okay? So we see the arrow. Our brain is like, oh, I know an arrow means I should look in this direction. And then it finds the end of the line. All right, so you guys got that?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm going to hit stop on this for a second. Go. All right, so you should all have a ruler. I want you to take your piece of paper, and I want you, ladies and gentlemen, to turn it sideways in what we like to refer to as horizontal or landscape mode, right? If you're using a computer, right? Portrait, landscape. All right. We are going to start by using our pencil, and we are going to draw very lightly. You're going to draw on the separate piece of paper, because if you're doing this in your sketchbook, it's a lot harder to do with the ruler. Okay? No, you need a pencil. Guys, remember I'm recording. Don't play with the rulers. All right, so you're going to take your ruler and you're going to place it in the middle of your paper like so. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but it should be in the middle. You guys have that? All right, like straighten out my paper. Guys who are talking, gentlemen, I'm recording this. Your voices are going to come out on the video. Okay. All right, so our paper is in the landscape. We're putting our ruler across. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to, holding your ruler with your non-drawing hand, and notice how my fingers are spread out. You're going to draw a line lightly and carefully along that edge. So when I move the ruler, we have a line. Can I get somebody to close the door for me? All right. You guys have a nice line? It's fine. It's okay.
Is it supposed to be in the middle?
Yes. In the middle of your paper, holding it landscape. Yes. No, I want you to use a pencil. Gentlemen. All right, so in the middle of this line, what you're going to do is you're going to take your two fingers on either side of the line, and you're going to go right to the middle. And where that middle is, I want you to draw a small dot, like so. All right, so what we're doing is we are going to create a space. We're going to make this look like this is a place using lines. Okay? Now, I'm going to, and I'm going to kind of draw like a triangle sort of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to draw a diagonal line. and a diagonal line.
Where the dot is?
To connect to the dot. Okay? So, where the dot is, you're going to draw a line that comes out. Draw a line that comes out. Okay? It's alright. There might be some variation, that's okay.
Like this?
That's fine. Alright, so, right now, we have a triangle shape, and we have a line, so it gives us a rectangle on top. What could this be?
It could be a dog.
It looks like it could be a balance.
Miss, it could be the Illuminati.
Could be, it kind of looks like the Illuminati. What if I told you, hang on, I'm about to hack your brain.
A bridge. It's a doggy.
What if this is a road?
Yeah.
No.
What?
Oh, yeah.
This is a road, and we're driving down the road. Ah. So, one of the things to remember about art, ladies and gentlemen, when we draw something, many times it's about how we interpret it. If I tell you that it is a balance, right, it's like a scale, then you guys would see that. If I tell you it's a road, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, like that's what it is. And that's how we're going to use it. All right, so.
How is that a road?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we're going to add some details to this to make it a landscape. We're going to draw lightly, and we're going to use our pencil. We're going to keep our details to a minimum. And I am going to draw a scene that is in the desert, but you do not have to draw a desert scene. So I'm gonna kind of explain some basics. That's fine. We're gonna start back here. So back here, if for example it's in the desert, there might be some of that cool mountains that are in the desert. Has anybody ever driven through the mountains of the desert? Hang on. You don't want a crazy amount of detail. So, if I'm going to make some kind of weird mountainy thing, they're going to start now. You kind of want an area where the car can, where the road can go through, right? So that's where our road can go through. It's a crazy mountainy things. There we go. All right. So, I've got some weird mountainy things. Your mountains might look more like mountains. It could look like a city. You could make a city. It could be an alien planet. All right. Now, here's the thing. Again, right now we're not focusing on super big details. Just kind of an outline of the shape. Okay? An outline. And so I'm using a line. Notice how I've got this line is creating my background. So we've used 3 straight lines, and now I've kind of got this wiggly line that's making my mountains. If you wanted other mountains that are pointy, then you might use a zigzag line to create your mountains. We're not adding tons of detail though, just the basics, just the outline. You guys got that? Yeah, if you wanted to. All right. Now, I'm going to add some details to my landscape. So one of the things, if I'm driving through the desert, is there are things called cactus, right? One of the things, all right, this is why I'm asking you guys to draw lightly. When things are close to us, they are large, and when things are far away, they are small. So if I'm going to draw myself a cactus that's close to me, or it could be a tree, or it could be some other thing. I draw some kind of weird cactus. And again, I'm kind of using kind of a weird wiggly line. There's my cactus. It's not because it's close to me. If I want to draw a cactus that's farther down the road, it's going to be smaller. Right? Now, the reason I asked you guys to draw lightly is that we can erase the things that are in the back. Right? If you draw super heavy, then you can't erase that stuff. All right. Now you could make, if you were drawing like a regular landscape that's more like ours, these might be trees. Or, again, if it's on some alien planet, then you can kind of make up what your trees might look like. Uh-huh. Huh? Oh yeah, we can add more details there too. We'll get to that. All right. We could. So another thing that might be in the desert, there might be oh, a tumbleweed. All right. So there might be a tumbleweed. So notice how here, in order to draw my tumbleweed, I am using short lines and maybe some scraggly lines to make my tumbleweed.
Miss, can we draw a clown?
Probably not. No, I don't want any people or things here. We will maybe draw an animal. All right, but I'm gonna do. Let's see. Oh, I know. I'm gonna do like a
big rock.
a skull.
Miss, there's a wild animal named the clown.
School appropriate.
It's things that are found in the desert. Mr. Gonzalez has stuff up there.
Yep, I see them.
Mhm.
It's part of biology. I found them.
Yeah, actually, those are found. One of his relatives has like a ranch, and they were found on the ranch. So, yeah. So there we go. You can draw other things. So, the other thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna draw some a bit in the sky. I'm not gonna worry too much more about the stuff up close because there might be other details that you want to add. But I do want to add, okay, a couple of things to know. First of all, the sun does not live in the corner of our papers. So from now on, I don't want to see any suns in the corner. In the desert, our sun sometimes is super big and bright, and sometimes it's sort of tiny depending on the time of year it is. I'm gonna draw a big sun. Right? You could do it at night. And then I'm not going to add any clouds to it. All right, so let me show you. You guys are not going to do this yet. I'm just going to demonstrate. You guys got that? So I'm going to use my marker, and I'm going to show you what you guys are going to do next. I don't want you to use your marker yet because you might want to add more stuff to your picture. Okay? But I want you guys to look up here and see what we're going to do. You guys ready? All right. So, notice how I have the shapes of things are because I use my pencil. I am not, all right, I am not going to.
You were calling Miss Gilbert?
No?
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, where's Manuel? Manny, go to the fishbowl. Get quick. All right, so I am going to, couple of things. I am not going to trace my pencil with my marker. So, anywhere where you've drawn with pencil, you're not going to trace over your pencil. Do you guys got that? Yeah. All right, so what I'm going to do as a demonstration is I'm going to use some of the things that are already here. Do not use your marker yet. All right, so for example, my sun, I might want to use a line that's kind of like a cool spiral.
That does not look like a sun.
Or, well, this whole thing is not really going to look like, when we're done, it's going to look like a cool pattern of stuff. All right, so there's my, there's my sun.
Miss, it looks like if that was your thumb thing.
Maybe.
You mean a thumbprint? Yes.
All right.
I mean a fingerprint. What am I saying?
All right, so there's my sun.
Fingerprint.
I might do, so my mountains that are in the back, I might use some, so I'm not going to color anything in, and I'm not going to trace my pencil. You're not. That's the idea is we're going to make a picture
How come that doesn't look like a mountain?
just using lines.
how they were and how they look like before.
We're gonna make a whole picture just using lines. And yes, it's gonna look strange. But the thing is, the goal is, guys, the goal is that you're going to think about lines. I want you to think line, 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 line. When you're making this, I want you to think lines. Right? Straight lines, curly lines.
Miss, I'm a straight line.
Are you? Alright, so my picture's starting to show up because of the various lines that I'm making. Alright, I could even fill in my sky. At some point I want the sky to be filled in with lines. I'm going to use like some wavy lines. Guys,
Miss racist.
not yet. But soon. Alright guys, so look at me. It does. It's not going to look exactly like the picture that you might have in your mind of what this landscape is going to look like. I like to call this little exercise a linescape. This is not a super fancy work of art. This is, we're going through and we're practicing different types of lines. And by doing lines that go in different directions, and short lines, and long lines, and wiggly lines, and straight lines, and short dash lines, we can make our picture appear by filling this in. Okay? So that's what you guys are going to work on.
Miss, what happened to your mouth?